It wasn't until after I died that I discovered my 3 arranged fiancés only had eyes for our housekeeper's daughter, Emma. They had known all along that Emma possessed a body-swapping system. As long as my favorability toward Emma reached 100 points, she would take over my body and become the wealthy heiress. And I would become the housekeeper's daughter, suffering for the rest of my life. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to when Ryan had just rejected my confession. Emma stood nearby, defending me as always to increase my favorability toward her. But this time, I could hear the voice of Emma's body-swapping system. Host, the young lady's favorability toward you has reached 99 points. Just one more point, and you can take over the young lady's body and become the true heiress. Quickly have the 3 young masters who adore you bombard the young lady, and help you complete the body swap. My brain froze for a moment. Meanwhile, my 3 arranged fiancés were pointing at my nose and cursing. Charlotte, I've told you countless times I don't like you. If you insist on marrying me, fine, but be prepared to sleep alone forever. Look at yourself. You act all high and mighty as the heiress, never treating us as equals. How could Ryan possibly like you? Please just leave us alone, and stop tattling to your wealthy parents. We're just orphans who can't handle the torture from our sponsors. Emma stepped protectively in front of me. She defended me as always, her eyes full of sincerity. Ryan, Charlotte has genuine feelings for you. Treating her this way is too cruel and hurtful. Marcus, I don't know what misunderstanding you have with Charlotte, but she's a good girl who deserves to be loved. Jason, since you've accepted Charlotte's parents' kindness, you should make Charlotte happy instead of judging her from your moral high ground. She hasn't done anything wrong. So many times before, Emma had stood firmly by my side like this. Even willing to make enemies of my 3 arranged fiancés, I couldn't help but be moved. Gradually opening my heart to her, treating her as my best friend. But who would have thought she approached me and pleased me just to swap bodies with me and steal my heiress status? And my 3 arranged fiancés deliberately bullied me to help Emma take my place faster, giving Emma opportunities to perform in front of me to increase my favorability toward her. Thinking of my past life, after Emma successfully took over my body, I became the housekeeper's daughter. No matter how I begged my wealthy parents for help, they never believed I was their daughter. Instead, with the 3 fiancés and Emma adding fuel to the fire, my parents believed I had mental illness. I was eventually locked in a psychiatric hospital, wasting away my entire life. Charlotte, this is your fate. The Wilson family heiress can only be me. As for you, go die. Emma's words from my past life still echoed in my ears. A chill ran through my entire body. I immediately shook off Emma's hand. Emma's face darkened. Charlotte, what's wrong with you? Before Emma could finish, the system's voice entered my mind again. Host, for some reason the young lady's favorability toward you is dropping rapidly. It's only 95 points now. Oh no, 90 points, 80 points, 70 points. Warning, favorability dropping too fast. If it drops more than 40 points, you'll be electrocuted. Emma suddenly looked at me, her eyes immediately reddening. Charlotte, did I do something wrong to make you angry? Tell me and I'll change, okay? I stared steadily at Emma. I couldn't find any fault with her. I could only curl my lips slightly. Ryan, Marcus, and Jason all like you, don't they? The 3 arranged fiancés were startled. Emma panicked too. She quickly shook her head in denial. That's not true. Charlotte, I'm nobody. How could I possibly make all 3 of them like me? I raised my voice, looking at the 3 men. Really? The 3 of them were sensitive and insecure. They hated being challenged most of all. Now that I'd exposed them, they simply admitted it boldly. So what if we like Emma? Isn't controlling our bodies enough? Do you want to control our hearts too? Charlotte, what I hate most is how you lord your heiress status over us but never treat us as equals. Emma was still speaking up for me. That's not true. Charlotte is kind and sincere. She's never discriminated against you for being orphans. You're misunderstanding her. I laughed mockingly, cutting off Emma's voice. No, you don't need to explain for me. I do look down on these 3 orphans. Emma was shocked. How could that be? Charlotte, don't say things you don't mean. I ignored Emma and looked directly at the 3 men, speaking word by word. You 3 eat the Wilson family's food and drink the Wilson family's drinks. If I hadn't chosen you from the orphanage back then, who knows what sweatshop you'd be working in now. You yet You have the audacity to dress up and talk to me about equality? The three men's faces turned black. Black instantly. Charlotte, today you finally said what's really in your heart. Emma wasted her efforts defending you. I knew it. You only see us as your dogs. In the past, I thought they were just insecure and sensitive, which is why they resisted my approach. Now I understand they're just bad, stupid, and conniving. They can't even tell right from wrong, blindly favoring Emma. So I decided to go along with their words. Yes, I only see you as dogs. Oh wait, that's not right. You're not even as good as dogs. Dogs at least know to wag their tails at their master, but you only know how to bark at your master. Ryan and the other two turned red with anger. They bared their teeth, wanting to curse back. Emma still wanted to play peacemaker. I didn't give her the chance. I continued my attack, saying everything I'd figured out from my past and present lives. Ryan, didn't my dad tell you that if you didn't want to marry me, you could completely choose to leave the Wilson family? You chose not to leave. You couldn't bear to give up the status of being the Wilson family's son-in-law. Couldn't bear to give up the Wilson family fortune that might fall into your hands. Marcus, Jason, you were already excluded from my marriage candidates long ago. My mom was even willing to give you money to start businesses, but you just wouldn't leave. Isn't it because you're afraid that leaving the Wilson family would make you unable to hold your heads up? And you'd never find wives with good family backgrounds and looks? You three are all sanctimonious hypocrites, useless money-grubbing bastards. You keep saying I look down on you. Then do something that would make me respect you. Emma quickly stopped Ryan and the others who wanted to attack me. Don't be impulsive, Ryan, Marcus, Jason. Charlotte definitely doesn't think this way in her heart. Don't misunderstand her. I interrupted Emma. Misunderstand? How could it be a misunderstanding? If I hadn't been blind enough to choose you three back then, you wouldn't even have had the chance to be my dog. You like Emma, right? You could have confessed to her openly. Why are you secretly harboring these crushes? Ryan's body began trembling with rage. Isn't it because you, Charlotte, are petty and bad-tempered? If you knew we liked Emma, who knows how you'd torture her? I threw back my head and laughed. Good, I am petty and bad-tempered. Then today let me show you exactly how I torture her. For the first time, Emma's expression cracked. The system's voice rang out again. Warning. Warning. Favorability, 61 points. Host is in danger. Please recover favorability immediately. Emma's face turned pale for a second before she forced out a trembling smile. Charlotte, what are you talking about? I know you're angry, but you shouldn't joke like this. A joke. I smiled. Didn't Ryan just say I'm petty and bad-tempered? Then why would you think I'm joking? Ryan stepped forward immediately. What exactly do you want? I looked at him. Then at Marcus. Then Jason. The three men who had ruined my entire life. In my previous life, I had spent years wondering what I had done wrong. Why they hated me. Why they chose Emma. Why nobody believed me. Now I finally understood. The problem was never me. The problem was that they wanted everything while paying nothing. They wanted the Wilson family's wealth. They wanted the Wilson family's connections. They wanted the future inheritance. And they wanted Emma too. Greedy people always believed they deserved the entire world. I suddenly laughed. Ryan, you like Emma, right? His face stiffened. I didn't wait for him to answer. Marcus likes Emma too. Marcus looked away. And Jason? Jason clenched his fists. I nodded. Perfect. The three of them frowned. For some reason, they suddenly looked uneasy. Then I pulled out my phone. Since all of you like her so much, let's solve the problem today. I pressed a number. Dad. The moment the call connected, Ryan's expression changed. Charlotte. I ignored him. Dad. Remember the 3 marriage candidates you sponsored? Please terminate all support immediately. Silence. The faces of all 3 men instantly drained of color. My father sounded surprised. Terminate. Yes. I smiled. They don't like me. They think accepting our family's money is humiliating. They think we're using wealth to oppress them. So from today onward, let's stop oppressing them. The silence on the other end lasted several seconds. Then my father chuckled. Understood. Click. The call ended. The courtyard became deathly quiet. Ryan's eyes widened. Marcus looked like he had been struck by lightning. Jason's face was completely white. What did you just do? I tilted my head. Didn't you want equality? Now you have it. No more Wilson family money. No more private schools. No more luxury apartments. No more business investments. No more elite tutors. Congratulations. You are finally equal. The three of them looked like they wanted to vomit blood. Emma's face was even uglier, because she knew exactly what this meant. Without the Wilson family backing them, Ryan and the others would no longer be the outstanding young masters everyone admired. They would simply become ordinary people. And ordinary people were useless to her. The system suddenly screamed. Warning! Warning! Host emotional state unstable. Favorability. 58 points. Emma's fingers shook. Charlotte. She reached toward me. Instinctively. Desperately. As if she was trying to grab something precious. I stepped back. Her hand froze in midair. The system practically howled. Danger! Danger! Host is losing control of the target. For the first time, I saw genuine panic in Emma's eyes. Not because she cared about me. Because she was afraid. Afraid of losing the body she had spent years trying to steal. Afraid of losing the life she believed belonged to her. Afraid that all her plans were collapsing. And she was right. They were. I folded my arms. Emma. Her eyes lit up hopefully. Yes. I smiled sweetly. Since we're such good friends, why don't you tell everyone what your system is? The smile on her face froze. The system instantly shrieked. Emergency. Emergency. Host identity exposure risk detected. Punishment protocol activated. A sharp crack echoed through the courtyard. Emma suddenly screamed. She collapsed to her knees. Blood trickled from her nose. Everyone froze. Ryan rushed over. Emma. Marcus grabbed her shoulders. What happened? Jason looked horrified. Emma's body was trembling violently. Only I knew why. The system was punishing her. Because I had hit the one secret she could never reveal. Emma lifted her head. Her eyes were full of terror. Not toward the system. Toward me. Because she finally realized something. I knew everything. The body swap. The favorability points. The system. Her future plans. All of it. The color drained from her face. The system's voice was now frantic. Warning. Target awareness level exceeds expectations. Mission failure probability increasing. Host must immediately restore favorability. Current favorability. 55 points. Emma stared at me as though she had seen a ghost. And honestly, maybe she had. After all, I was someone who had already died once. Emma's lips trembled. For a long moment she simply stared at me. Then she forced herself to smile. Charlotte, I don't know what you're talking about. I almost laughed. Even now she was still acting. In my previous life, that innocent expression had fooled everyone. My parents. The three idiots beside her. Even me. But now that I knew the truth, every expression looked fake. Every tear looked calculated. Every smile looked like a weapon. Ryan was still holding Emma protectively. What did you do to her? What did I do? I looked genuinely confused. She's the one who suddenly started bleeding. Marcus glared at me. You scared her on purpose. Really? I shrugged. Then she must be pretty weak. The three men's faces darkened. The system's voice suddenly sounded again. Current favorability. 53 points. Host is in extreme danger. Body swap unavailable. Recommend emergency recovery plan. Emma lowered her head. I saw the panic in her eyes. She couldn't understand what had happened. Just this morning my favorability had still been 99. Everything had been going according to plan. Now it had collapsed in less than 10 minutes. And the worst part? She had no idea why. The system suddenly spoke again. Analysis complete. Target appears to possess memories from the previous timeline. Emma froze. The blood drained from her face. The three men didn't hear the system. But I saw Emma's reaction. And that reaction told me everything. The system knew. Interesting. Very interesting. Emma's eyes widened as she looked at me. A look of fear slowly appeared. For the first time since we'd met. Not fake fear. Real fear. Because she finally realized she wasn't facing the same Charlotte anymore. I smiled to her. Slowly. Deliberately. The way a cat smiles at a mouse. Emma instinctively took a step backward. The system continued. Warning. Host's advantage has been compromised. Recommend immediate elimination of target. My smile vanished. Elimination. So that's what happened. In my previous life, I had always wondered why Emma suddenly became so vicious after the body swap. Why she seemed determined not just to replace me but to destroy me completely. Now I knew. The system itself had encouraged it. Emma swallowed nervously. The system spoke again. Recommended methods. Destroy target's reputation. Separate target from family. Induce psychological collapse. If necessary, physical removal. I felt ice run through my veins. Those were exactly the things that had happened in my previous life. Every single one. Emma looked sick. Apparently even she wasn't comfortable hearing it stated so plainly. Good. That meant she wasn't completely fearless. Fear could be used. Fear could be exploited. I took out my phone. Emma immediately stiffened. What are you doing? I smiled. Calling my mother. The panic on Emma's face intensified. Why? Because I've suddenly realized something. I looked directly into her eyes. My parents are actually pretty important people. Emma's pupils contracted. And I should probably spend more time with them. The system immediately screamed. Warning. Warning. Target attempting to strengthen familial bonds. This will significantly reduce future body swap success rate. Emma's breathing became uneven. Because she knew what that meant. In my previous life, the body swap only worked because I trusted her more than anyone. More than my parents. More than myself. She had slowly isolated me. Made herself my closest confidant. My favorite person. My best friend. Every favorability point had been built over years. Now, I was cutting those years apart in a single afternoon. My mother answered. Charlotte. Mom. My voice softened immediately. I miss you. There was silence. Then surprised laughter. You're calling me just to say that? Yes. Did you get into trouble? Maybe. My mother laughed again. Do you want me to come pick you up? My smile widened. Yes. Then wait there. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The call ended. Emma looked like she had swallowed poison. The system sounded even worse. Current favorability, 49 points. Critical threshold reached. A crackling sound suddenly echoed. Emma gasped. Electricity flashed across her arm. She nearly collapsed. Ryan caught her. Emma, what happened? Are you sick? Emma could barely answer. No, I'm fine. But she wasn't fine. Because I could hear it. The system was punishing her. And the punishment had only just begun. I walked closer. Emma flinched. Actually flinched. That alone almost made me laugh. In my previous life, I had been the one terrified of her. Now the situation was reversed. I leaned down and whispered so only she could hear. Does it hurt? Her eyes widened. I smiled. Good. Her entire body went rigid. Then I whispered the words that shattered the last of her composure. I remember everything, Emma. For a second, she stopped breathing. The world seemed to freeze. Ryan was still asking if she was okay. Marcus was still trying to help her stand. Jason was still glaring at me. None of them understood. But Emma did. She understood perfectly. Tears immediately filled her eyes. Not fake tears. Real ones. Because for the first time, her carefully planned future was slipping away. And she finally realized something terrifying. The Charlotte she killed in the previous life had come back. And this time, I wasn't going to die quietly. Emma's face went completely white. For a moment she looked like she might faint. I straightened up and took a step back before anyone noticed our exchange. Ryan immediately wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Emma, what's wrong? Marcus glared at me. What did you say to her? I shrugged. Nothing important. But Emma knew. She knew exactly how important it was. Because if I remembered everything, then I knew every move she would make before she made it. Every trap, every lie, every fake tear, every scheme. The system suddenly spoke. Emergency warning. Target hostility level has reached maximum. Recommend abandoning emotional strategy. Switching to reputation destruction plan. Emma's eyes widened in horror. No, the word slipped out before she could stop herself. The three men looked confused. No what? Emma quickly shook her head. And nothing. But I smiled. Interesting. She didn't want the system to switch plans. That meant even she knew things would become dangerous. Very dangerous. The system's cold voice continued. Host lacks sufficient favorability points for body swap. Alternative mission objective. Remove target from air position. Success probability, 78%. My eyes narrowed. So there were backup plans. Of course there were. A system capable of stealing bodies wouldn't rely on only one method. The Wilson family's fortune was simply too tempting. Just then, a black luxury car pulled into the courtyard. Everyone turned. The driver hurried out and opened the rear door. A woman stepped out. Tall, elegant, beautiful. My mother. In my previous life, I hadn't seen her this often. Emma had gradually convinced me that my parents didn't understand me, that they only cared about the family business, that she was the only one who truly cared. Thinking about it now made me want to slap my past self. My mother spotted me immediately. Charlotte. I walked straight toward her. Then, without hesitation, hugged her. She froze. Apparently, I hadn't hugged her in a very long time. After a moment, her arms wrapped around me. Did something happen? Yes. My voice was muffled against her shoulder. A lot happened. My mother glanced past me. Her sharp eyes landed on Ryan, Marcus, Jason, and Emma. Her expression cooled instantly. The three men suddenly looked nervous. Even Emma lowered her head. My mother wasn't as easy to manipulate as I had been. She simply loved me too much. That was why Emma had targeted me instead of her. Come home. My mother gently brushed my hair back. We'll talk there. I nodded, then turned back. The four of them were still standing where I'd left them. I smiled. Goodbye. Ryan frowned. What do you mean goodbye? I tilted my head. What do you think it means? Marcus suddenly had a bad feeling. Jason too. Only Emma understood immediately. And the terror in her eyes deepened. I opened the car door. Then casually added. All right. You three should probably start looking for jobs. Silence. What? Ryan's face darkened. I smiled sweetly. The Wilson family sponsorship has already been cancelled. If you're lucky, maybe you'll find work before your apartments stop accepting our payment. The three men's expressions shattered. What? You can't do that. My business project. My tuition. My internship. For the first time, panic replaced their self-righteous anger. Because reality had finally arrived. Without the Wilson family, they had nothing. Absolutely nothing. I laughed. The sound made Emma shiver. Then I got into the car. As we drove away, I watched them grow smaller through the window. Ryan looked stunned. Marcus looked furious. Jason looked desperate. Emma looked terrified. Good. They should be. Because this was only the beginning. That evening, I sat in my room while my parents listened quietly to everything. Not everything. I couldn't exactly explain body swapping systems. But I told them enough. How Ryan and the others constantly insulted me. How they resented our family. How they secretly liked Emma. How I no longer wanted any connection with them. My father listened silently. The colder his expression became, the angrier he was. By the end, the room felt like an icebox. Finally he spoke. Those ungrateful little bastards. My mother nodded. I warned you years ago. My father sighed. You did. Then he looked at me. Charlotte. Yes. Do you still want them as marriage candidates? I nearly laughed. Absolutely not. Good. My father pulled out his phone immediately. Then I'll announce tomorrow that all three are permanently removed from consideration. I blinked. Tomorrow. My mother smiled. Why wait? I suddenly felt warmth spread through my chest. In my previous life, I had believed my parents would never choose me. What a joke. The reality was that they'd always chosen me. I had simply been manipulated into doubting it. My father continued typing. And while I'm at it, what? A dangerous smile appeared on his face. I'm also terminating every scholarship, internship, investment opportunity, and recommendation connected to them. I stared, then slowly grinned. My father grinned back. Like father, like daughter. Meanwhile, across the city, Ryan's phone rang. Then Marcus's. Then Jason's. One notification after another. Emails. Messages. Official notices. Each one worse than the last. Sponsorship terminated. Scholarship revoked. Housing support canceled. Business funding withdrawn. Internship recommendation rescinded. By midnight, the three men sat in stunned silence. Their entire future had collapsed in a single day. Ryan's hands shook. This can't be happening. Marcus punched the wall. Jason looked like he was about to cry. Then Emma's system spoke. New mission update. Target Charlotte Wilson has become significantly harder to defeat. Recalculating probabilities. A pause. Then. Host survival rate. 31%. Emma's heart nearly stopped. And for the first time since obtaining her system, she began to wonder if she had chosen the wrong enemy. By the next morning, the entire city already knew. The Wilson family had pulled out. Completely. Not just from Ryan, Marcus, and Jason, but from every thread that had ever kept them afloat. And when wealthy families cut you off, they don't just remove support. They erase you. Ryan stood outside what used to be his apartment. Key card invalid. Door locked. Belongings already boxed and sent to storage. Storage he could no longer afford. Marcus stared at his phone like it had betrayed him personally. No, there has to be a mistake. Jason was silent. Because he had already checked everything twice. There were no mistakes. Only consequences. At the Wilson estate, I sat across from my parents as they finalized everything in real time. My father didn't look up from his tablet. Second company just declined them employment. My mother sipped her tea. Good. I told the board not to entertain emotional appeals. I paused. You really went that far? My father finally looked up. They made you suffer. That was it. No debate. No hesitation. Just fact. My chest tightened in a way I didn't expect. In my previous life, I had mistaken their distance for indifference. Now I understood it had been trust. They thought I was safe. They thought I was happy. They thought wrong. And now they were correcting it. Permanently. Meanwhile, Emma was no longer laughing. She wasn't even pretending anymore. The system's voice had stopped sounding like a guide. Now it sounded like a countdown. Favorability, 42 points. Critical failure threshold approaching. Her hands shook as she stood in a cheap rented room she had been forced into overnight. No luxury. No servants. No backup plan. Just her. And the thing inside her head that no longer sounded confident. Why is this happening? She whispered. The system didn't answer immediately. Then. Unknown variable detected. Charlotte Wilson retains prior timeline awareness and emotional immunity. Emma's breath caught. Fix it, she demanded, voice cracking. You said this was guaranteed. Silence. Then. Correction. It was guaranteed under standard conditions. A pause. A longer one. Then the final line came. Standard conditions no longer apply. For the first time, Emma felt something cold crawl up her spine. Not fear of losing. Fear of being replaced in the system's calculations. That afternoon, Ryan tried one last time. He came to the Wilson estate gates. Standing in the rain. Drenched. Waiting. When I stepped out, he rushed forward. Charlotte, listen, this is all a misunderstanding. We can. I raised a hand. He stopped. Not because he wanted to. Because security had already moved behind him. I studied him quietly. This was the boy who once told me I was too arrogant to deserve love. Now he looked like someone who hadn't slept in 2 days. How interesting, I said calmly. You lost everything and still came here first. His jaw tightened. I just want my position back. There it was. Honesty. Finally. I nodded slightly. At least you stopped pretending. His eyes flickered. For a second, something like shame crossed his face. But it didn't last. Because desperation eats shame first. Behind him, Marcus and Jason arrived too. All three. All at once. Like a final attempt to reset the story. Marcus spoke first. We were wrong. Jason followed quickly. We didn't know it would go this far. Ryan clenched his fists. We didn't mean it. I looked at them for a long moment. Then I smiled faintly. That's the problem. They froze. You only care when it goes this far. Silence. Even the rain sounded louder. I stepped closer, but only enough for them to hear clearly. This isn't punishment. This is what happens when you confuse access with ownership. Ryan's face darkened. So what now? You destroy us completely. I tilted my head. Too late. Their expressions shifted. Because they realized something. This wasn't a negotiation anymore. It had already ended. They had just arrived after the credits. Back inside the estate, my father's assistant entered quickly. Everything is complete. My father nodded once. Good. My mother looked at me. And them. I thought for a moment. Then said. They'll survive. A pause. Then I added. Barely. My mother smiled slightly. That's mercy apparently. I didn't answer. Because mercy wasn't what I was practicing. Clarity was. Outside, Ryan's phone buzzed one last time. A final notice. Debt restructuring denied. Legal agreements finalized. No appeals remaining. Marcus read it over his shoulder. His face went blank. Jason sat down on the curb. Like his body had finally given up pretending. And Emma, far away, staring at her system screen, heard the final line. Host success probability, 0%. A long silence. Then the system spoke one last time. Not cold. Not strategic. Just flat. New directive, disengage. Emma whispered. Disengage from what? The system answered. From Charlotte Wilson. And for the first time since it appeared in her mind, it stopped offering solutions. That night, I stood by the window of my room. The city lights stretched out below like nothing had ever happened. But something had. 3 boys who once believed they owned my future were gone. A system that once controlled my life was destabilizing. And a girl who once stole my fate was losing control of her own. I took a slow breath. In my past life, this was where everything ended for me. This time, it was where everything finally began.